Greetings and salutations. This is Chad from the Fit Filipino, and today I am at my local supermarket. In this episode, I'll be shedding some light on the issue of grocery shopping. Now, when most people go grocery shopping, what they do is they look for what they need, take it off the shelf, throw it in the cart, and they're good to go. But actually, people should be thinking more about what they're putting into their bodies, and that starts with what you buy at the grocery store. So in this episode, I'll be covering exactly that, how to shop healthy. Not all food groups are made equal. Some are okay to eat, others you should just avoid altogether. And that's what I'll be covering in this episode, telling you what you should and shouldn't buy. There are so many different kinds of food groups, carbohydrates, proteins, condiments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break them down individually so that we can go through the different kind of products that each different category has. What better way to start our discussion on carbohydrates than with rice? We are Asian and we are just not going to escape rice no matter how hard we try. And this entire pile that I'm sitting on is just white rice. Now there are two kinds of rice that we eat, white and non-white. The most common is the white variety because they're easier to grow, they're cheaper, and that's mostly what people get. But guys, by and large, let's try to avoid the white rice, mostly because it is a fast digesting carbohydrate. So what that means is it gets digested right away. So even if you eat a lot, it doesn't really keep you full as long as the other kinds of rice types do, like brown rice, like red and black rice. And they're higher in calories, and if you watch my previous video, you will understand the importance of reducing your calories. What I've got here behind me are the different kinds of colored rice, or the non-white rice, that is available when you go to a grocery store. We have the black rice, red rice, brown rice, so many different kinds of rice, and generally these have higher fiber, they are lower in calories, and they're generally healthier than the white type of rice. So if you're looking to, cut some pounds off your waistline, then this is the way to go. They're a bit more expensive, but if you really are serious about losing weight, then you should invest in some colored rice. Just to prove a point about the difference between white rice and colored rice, we're looking now at the nutritional facts on a bag of white rice. Look at that. That's 340 calories per cup, or 100 grams. And then look at the fiber, about 4% or 1 gram. Alright, but let's take now a look at this bag of brown rice. For the same amount, a cup or 100 grams, only 216 calories. And look at the fiber, 14%. More than double the fiber content of white rice. So to recap, white rice is out, colored rice is in. Who doesn't love bread? I know I love bread, but you have to be careful about the kind of bread that you buy. Most of the bread that people eat is the regular white bread stuff, but you have to avoid these for the same reason that we avoid white rice, because they are fast digesting, high in calories. If you can, go for the wheat bread like this, but be careful because a lot of wheat breads are marketed as wheat bread when they're really not. You have to look at the ingredients because real wheat bread is made from 100% wheat flour. Some of the cheaper wheat breads like these, they only have some wheat flour in it, which allows them to market it as wheat bread, but it's basically still white bread with some wheat in it, so be careful. And it goes without saying, avoid the flavored bread, like this chocolate chip and ube and cheese, or anything like that. They're good in the sense that they taste great, but they're not good in the sense that they make you fat. Just like most kids, I grew up eating cereal. Like this, and until now, I love cereal. I could eat cereal 24/7, but I don't because I know how unhealthy it is. Especially the flavory kinds like these, packed with sugar. For example, this, look at how much sugar is in this? That's about 33 grams of sugar per serving. Insane. And don't even think about the healthy options, because those are actually really high in sugar. I have two examples of some quote-unquote healthy cereals here, and if I take a look at the sugar content, they're both at about 19, 20, or 22 grams of sugar per serving. That's a lot, okay? If you want to get cereal, get the plain ones, like Corn Flakes or Rice Krispies, because they're not flavored. They don't really have a lot of sugar in them. They do have some, but not a lot. So these are gonna be your alternatives for cereal. Oatmeal is one of the best sources of carbohydrates. They're so healthy. They got so many benefits. They're high in fiber, low in calories, and they are slow digesting carbohydrates. What that means is that if you eat these, they will keep you full for longer. Alright, but you gotta avoid the flavored varieties like the chocolate, like the honey banana, because they do have some extra calories added in. And I will have to mention that you've gotta avoid these cereal drinks. Even though they might have oats in them, they have so much other stuff in them, like flavorings and sugar and all that. So avoid these when you can, so you know, get rid of that. I love cookies and biscuits, but even though I love them, I have to tell you that you cannot just eat them because they are so packed with calories, different kinds of calories from different sources, sugar, carbohydrates, flavorings. So all in all, just don't. But if you really have to get some biscuits or cookies, it's best to go for the plain, unflavored kinds like Feta or Sky Flakes. They taste good, and they're not that high in calories, so if you're gonna buy something, then buy these. Chips. The #1 snack item that people like to buy, and also one of the unhealthiest, because think about it, they're basically deep fried and served with so many flavorings. That's just a recipe for a calorie bomb. So avoid them at all costs. I know that's not what you want to hear, but you really do have to remove chips from your diet if you want to start losing some weight. Especially the sweetened ones like these, because not only are they deep fried, they're also packed with sugar and flavorings that you don't really need. If you really have to buy some chips, it's best to go for the plain, unflavored variety like these tortilla corn chips. Okay, while they're not really healthy either, they're certainly better alternatives than these things. Noodles and pasta, the other staple food that we eat aside from rice and bread. One thing you should keep in mind though is that even though some pastas can be healthy, they're still pretty packed with calories because they are carbohydrates. So if you can, look for the wholemeal or whole wheat versions because those are much better than the regular ones, although the regular ones are okay too. And as for instant noodles, a definite no-no. Do not eat these. They are packed with calories, additives, and as good as they taste, you should not eat them in pretty much anything. When we're talking protein, the first thing that comes to mind is fresh meat, which is probably the best source of protein you can get. You can choose between the leanness of your cuts, so leaner cuts have less fat in them, so they have less calories, but fatter cuts to keep you fuller for longer, so you can play around with that. You can also play around with the kind of meat, beef, pork, chicken. It's really up to what you prefer. For myself, I don't eat pork, so I mostly stick with chicken, mainly because it's cheaper, but if you like beef, then go ahead, that's fine too. Fish is an even healthier source of protein because aside from the meat being very lean, it's also a great source of healthy fats like the omega-3 that you might find in tuna. Frozen meat like this is okay, but you gotta make sure that you don't eat too much of it because they are preserved. They do have a lot of additives and preservatives like different kinds of salt, sometimes MSG. So while they're okay to eat, you gotta limit consumption. And more importantly, they are the #1 kind of food if you want to do some dirty jokes. Pro tip, avoid these things like fish balls and tempura because although they are a popular street snack, less than half of the ingredients are actually seafood. So most of what you're eating is basically flour and starch, so avoid these at all costs. Canned foods, the most accessible source of protein that we Filipinos like to eat. They're okay, but in moderation, because they are packed with salt, so if you're looking to reduce your sodium, then try to stay away from canned food. Especially the flavored ones, because they have so much other stuff added to them, like this tuna caldereta, tuna frittata, you know, so just stick with the plain stuff if you're trying to stay healthy. Nothing says I love food more than masking its flavor with something else, and that's what condiments are for. You have to be very careful when using condiments because they're basically just another way of adding calories to your meal that you don't really need. The biggest culprit is mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is so high in fat. It's basically like taking a shot of fat in carbohydrates. It's insane. So try to stay away from mayonnaise. Ketchup is the second highest calorie content in the condiment range, so try to limit that as well. For barbecue sauce, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Some varieties have more calories. For example, this has more calories than this. This surprisingly only has 15 calories per serving, while this has about 30, 50. So, you know, look at the range, so be careful with what you're eating. However, mustard is a different story. They are so low in calories, it's basically like eating nothing. You can chug mayonnaise if you can chug mustard if you want to. Don't chug mayonnaise. You can chug mustard if you want to because they're so low in calories. So if you want to go get some mustard, knock yourself out. On to some more Filipino-related condiments, like soy sauce, vinegar, and fish sauce, the holy trio. I think every Filipino home has these in bulk. While they are not calorie-free, I don't think people will be consuming enough of them to really put on some real weight. So go ahead if you're gonna use them for cooking or, you know, dab some food into it, that's okay. Just make sure you don't drink it. Oil. Not just the thing you wipe off your face, but also for cooking. Now, there are only a select few kinds of oil that you should use because everything else is just so unhealthy. Top of the list, olive oil. Definitely a very healthy oil that you can use to cook. You can use this as is on salads, so that's great. Same deal for sesame oil if you want to infuse an Asian flavor into your meals. And then for cooking oils, you can either go with coconut oil or canola oil, because these are alright. Everything else avoid, especially things like vegetable oil, which is full of vegetables, but you don't know what kind of vegetables they use in it, and corn oil, which is just so fattening, so don't use those. Batman versus Joker, Celtics versus Lakers, a lot of great rivalries, but none as controversial as margarine versus butter. Now, which is better? Really, neither, because they are so packed with calories. 100 grams will give you almost 700 to 800 calories. So avoid them if you can, but if you really have to use butter or margarine, it really doesn't matter which one you use because they're so similar. But if you can, do not get the pure kind because that's just packed with the fat. Try to stick with the zero trans fat versions. Milk. Whether you like it or not, everybody's had to drink it at some point. As a general rule, milk is okay to drink, just drink it in moderation, especially the processed stuff, because they tend to have a lot of sugar. So any milk is fine again, but stay away from the flavored ones, chocolate or whatever other flavors are available. While not actually a milk, soy milk is great too, very low in calories, much lower than regular milk. Almond milk is also an option. It's a bit more expensive, but you know, the lower calories are totally worth it and it tastes great. Cheese. What more can I say? Nutritionally, cheese is mostly the same, so all I can say is just try to eat it in moderation. And it goes without saying, cheese spread does not count. Avoid that. Is salad healthy? Yes, it is. However, not all dressings are made equal. Some are just packed with calories more than you need. For example, this Thousand Island dressing has 150 150 calories, 160 calories per serving. My goodness, that's a lot. So yeah, as a general rule, avoid any creamy salad dressing like that, and that, and that, and that. If you're gonna buy salad dressing, just go for the vinaigrette-based ones because they are so low in calories because they're basically just oil and vinegar. But, you know, why buy them if you can make them? They're actually pretty easy to make. Just search it on YouTube. Recipes are pretty simple. Bread spread. The #1 thing people love to spread on bread. Lots of different kinds. Let's start with my favorite, peanut butter. Now, try to go with the regular peanut butter. Avoid fat-free. Because why would you go for fat-free peanut butter? Fat is the healthiest part of peanut butter. So when you get a low-fat or non-fat peanut butter, they actually have to fill that up with other extra sugars and additives that you don't need. So stick with the regular peanut butter. Also, avoid the sweet stuff like chocolate spreads and hazelnut spreads. Sorry, Nutella. And try to stick with the regular plain peanut butter if you can. As for jam or jelly, depends on where you're from, but I call it jam. If you're gonna buy jam, they're pretty high in calories. Look for the sugar-free varieties. Yes, they exist. For example, this is a sugar-free strawberry jam, only 10 calories per serving. That's not a lot at all. So if you're gonna go for that, regular peanut butter and fat-free, or sorry, sugar-free jams. A lot of people like to use syrup in their food, like pancakes or whatnot, and I say avoid them at all costs because they're so high in sugar. They're basically liquefied sugar. So stay away from regular maple syrup or chocolate syrup. Even honey, while natural, doesn't stop it from being just liquid sugar. If you have to go for some syrup, try to go for the sugar-free version, which does exist. So go ahead and pick that up. They still have a lot of calories, but nowhere near as much as the regular varieties. Oh my God. Look at all these sugary drinks that you should not be drinking because they are basically injections of calories into your face that you don't need. As a general rule, don't drink your calories in any form. So juice, no. Gatorade, no. Unless you're actually like running a marathon, which is fine, but I don't think people will run a marathon on a daily basis, so no. Also, soda, big no-no. Because aside from all the calories, you've got extra stuff that really should not be in your body to begin with. So what about diet soda? Diet soda is totally fine to drink in moderation because it does have less calories than soda. It's not calorie free, it does have some, anywhere between 10 to 20 calories, which is not a lot. So you can go ahead and drink diet soda if you want to, just, you know, again, everything in moderation. Coffee, the world's #1 pick-me-up. Coffee has so many health benefits. It raises metabolism, helps you burn fat, keeps you awake. But you gotta be careful what kind of coffee you're getting. Because, take a look at this. These are really popular kinds of coffee, the 3-in-1s, the flavored ones, or the white coffees. Stay away. So many calories per sachet. I think it's about 140, 160 calories per sachet. That's like drinking a can of soda per sachet. So stay away from those. If you are gonna get instant coffee, the best thing you can do is to get the plain kind, pure black coffee, because that is where you get all the health benefits of coffee without the added calories. Even better than instant coffee is brewed coffee. So if you can invest in a coffee maker of any kind, you know, French press, drip coffee maker, because pure black coffee has almost 0 calories and it's delicious.